notch. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not enough. You can't stop me.
Yo, what up, everybody? This is your boy Sean Simmons, aka Double S. Yo, listen, you in the field with my boys, the TRACKSTARZ. Yeah, holla.
All right, back in the field with the TRACKSTARZ, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. All right, so this is something that came up a couple weeks ago. We were talking about deal breakers. And Ryan spit out a deal breaker was disagreeing on abortion. And then my man Deontay over here was like, yo, what's the big deal? Why? You know what I'm saying?
Y'all
pro-choice, right? And then Ryan's face went white. They were like, oh, we got to talk about this. So, because what I realized is we've never talked about actual abortion on the show. We've talked about other things dealing with it. So Deontay brought up a couple good points that we need to figure out, because the big debate, even amongst Christians with abortion, is what happens if the girl is raped, she's underage, they can't possibly take care of the kid, all these kind of things like that. What do we feel about abortion in a biblical perspective? What do y'all think?
Dude, we just sat here like 2 minutes ago to say.
But that's what I do, you know that.
Well, I'll jump in. I'll say, and I know it's hard. It's a hard topic to discuss because you just never know what circumstances could be surrounding a child being brought into this world. But at the end of the day, I genuinely believe that God in His sovereignty, allows children to be brought in the world at a certain time under whatever circumstances for a particular reason, and it's not up to us to determine what that reason is. And that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow, because I could have to turn around and eat those words in 30 days. But hey, it's real. So
we already talked about this. We already said what we
carry on. Go ahead.
Now, because a lot of this is, it's easy to say until you're faced with it.
Exactly.
I actually had somebody call me that was raped, and they said, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This wasn't my decision. It's not fair, all this kind of stuff. I can't handle it, whatever. What do you tell somebody when they ask you in your face, what do I do? Ryan Righteous.
Okay, so the hard part for me is that I actually know a young lady who was raped, and she brought her baby into the world, and she's had just the hardest life. And when I asked her, like, what keeps you going every day, she's like, my daughter. And that makes me think that God doesn't make mistakes on any plane. And it's hard to put yourself in that position, because had that happened to my wife, if she came home one day after like going out with some friends and didn't come home till late and told me about that situation, it's hard to stomach. It is. But I don't think either one of us have it in our hearts to go to that clinic and get that and have that done. I just don't think that we as a couple would make a decision to
right, but that's not the question, because that's pro-choice. The question is, should anybody be allowed to decide that? What you just said was pro-choice.
Yes.
I wouldn't decide that. That's my choice. Right. Now, the policy is nobody can decide to do that. That's what we're discussing.
I've always stood behind that. I've always stood behind the fact that only God can take and give life. I think that that's His design. I don't think that He ever made an exception to that. No matter how bad the world is, when Christ stretched His arms out, He saw everything we were going to go through, and He said that I'll still die for your sins anyway. So I believe that everything happens through God's allowing it.
Now, I guess the real question is this murder or is it not? Because nobody is advocating for, if the kid is 1 and you just can't handle them no more, just get rid of them, right?
You're right.
But if the baby in the womb is just as much of a human as the 1-year-old kid, then it's murder, right?
Yeah.
But if he isn't as much of a human as the 1-year-old kid, then it's a part of her body. So I think that's the real issue. Is the baby immediately a human being with a soul that God loves at conception?
Yes.
Or is it only become that when it's born? That's the biggest debate that everybody has.
At conception. I believe that. I truly believe that. Because I remember when we found out about this is the test that I would say I would use, and I would tell anyone else to use. When you find out you're having that baby, do you start thinking about names? Do you start touching your stomach? Do you start listening for, waves in the stomach? Do you, feel anything moving? Because I believe that's where that starts from. When my wife told me we were pregnant, I was just like, this is a baby. This is here. Yeah. I'm a father now. I'm a father. And that's the way it feels from the time you find out, And then I told you that my sister saw something on the internet where it was a half-done abortion, and then the baby came out still alive, and they had to inject it because the girl was still saying, no, I don't want to keep it. Right. And they were like, it's premature, but we can put it in, an incubator. We can help this baby survive. And it was like, no.
So, is adoption like an issue for people? Like if they get pregnant and like instead of saying, I'm gonna just get abortion, adopt. My mom's gonna put up adoption because how many people want babies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good question for you because you illustrated what the big issue is with abortion. What is the reason why that same woman can't just go through? I think I have a reason, but what's the reason the woman can't go through with the pregnancy and just give it up and it'll be the same result in essence?
The only reason why I would think that it would be or something that they wouldn't do or whatever is just I don't know. I'm only basing from friends that I know growing up that's had abortions and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think to each his own. I feel differently about it, but I just know that there's another side to it. Yeah. That I never really know the right answer to. But I asked of one particular person, like the whole adoption thing, and her thing was, if she were to go further along and then the 8 to 9 months of pregnancy, like she said, she'll feel like something that to know that she has a child out there, or in a sense, like she'll feel like probably even more depressed than just having the abortion after being like a month pregnant.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I think a lot of women feel like if they go through with the pregnancy, now it's real. Right. Versus if they can handle it early, it didn't even exist to them. Right. Which actually is not true because if people have gone through abortions after it's done, they feel just as guilty.
Yeah, they do. And that's what I found too, is that like actually an ex-girlfriend of mine, her next boyfriend had, they got pregnant. This is like during her senior year of high school. And he had convinced her to have an abortion, and she did. And at first, I don't know, I think part of her kind of wanted, but then, she's the type of person that was all about the guy. And so she regretted that day still to today that she did that.
Oh yeah.
And then, but now she has 3 kids now, but she said she would never, ever.
So I have a question for you. Which one is more disappointing? The fact that you wake up feeling bad about yourself, or the fact that you've disappointed God and you feel bad about yourself? You're gonna have regrets whatever you do, unless you bring the baby up the way God has given you an opportunity to.
Yeah, and it's definitely a hard question. To me, it boils down to whether or not that's a life inside the stomach. Because the argument is it's not a life yet. It's just a piece of my body that's growing into a life. So if it is, it's like amputating a mole or a bunion or whatever. Right. So I don't believe that. I believe it is a life. So to me, that takes it out of even the woman's hands. To me, what I mean. And of course, hearing me say that, they're like, "Well, you ain't a woman, so you can't whatever." But to me, it has nothing to do with being a woman or man. Is that person inside of you God's child, not your child?
So give it the litmus test. Mary was with child when the angel spoke it, right?
Yeah.
So are we saying that we've changed the rules and now all of a sudden a child means when you bring them into the world, or is it conception?
Remember the problem is that not everybody you're talking to is a Christian.
Right.
You're basically not only telling Christians not to do this, you're telling atheists not to do it. You're telling other cultures that don't believe in that not to do it. So this is a policy. So that's where most of the issues we have in our society land, is that this used to be considered a Christian country, but the farther we go along, it's not necessarily considered that anymore. Now you have to accommodate people who don't believe in God at all. So your argument of, well, Mary, who cares who Mary is? You know what I'm saying?
But like, she should have had an abortion.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard that. So what I'm saying is like, that's why I hate politics. I can never be a politician because I don't know what policies should be. All I know is what advice I should give. I don't know how to tell anybody what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't envy a politician's decision of what they have to decide on abortion, gay marriage, things like this, because you're basically having to tell people what to do who don't even agree with your philosophy in life. And it's hard to do that. But the reason why it becomes important, and I think this is what people who are not Christians don't understand about why Christians seem to put their hands in everything, because the main argument I get back, like the video we put out, the homosexuality video when we dissected Macklemore, the biggest response I get is, why don't y'all just leave us alone? Y'all believe what y'all want, and we'll do what we want to do. That's the biggest argument. But what people don't realize is, from a Christian's point of view, this is not just about me and about you.
Right.
God will punish me for allowing you to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? He wiped out nations because they allowed crap into their nation.
Yeah.
So that's how Christians see it, and they don't understand that. What does my thing have to do with you?
Wow.
And subconsciously, we all know as Christians that God doesn't just punish people individually. He says, all of y'all allowed this into your country. I'm getting rid of this whole country. And that's the fear deep down inside of a Christian, is that this is a country that we feel that God gave us, and we're allowing it to go to crap from our point of view. And if we don't do anything about it, he's going to come down on all of us.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's a misunderstanding that a lot of people don't get. But hopefully, I mean, they still won't like it, but you know what I'm saying? But that's why we care so much about all these policies. It's not just about, is it hurting me? Is it not hurting me? All of this hurts all of us. We're all connected. So that's why we care. You know.
Wow.
What y'all think?
No, I mean, I think how we should end this is, we should give somebody an advice who had an abortion. Maybe they're Christian, maybe they're not, but they're feeling guilty. What do we say to them? What do we say to them?
I mean, just like with anything, man, like if you've done anything in your life, regardless. I mean, I did a piece with this guy named Kenny called Twisted. There's nothing that you could do that will separate you from the love of God. God loves you. So you can ask for forgiveness. God will get you right back to where you need to be. So you never have to feel bad for the rest of your life about anything. Just seek God. Anybody considering it, I've had that question, not just with a full out abortion, but also like the morning after and all those kind of gray area stuff. And all I could say was, do you trust God to handle the situation, or do you want to fix it? Because if you let God handle it, it'll be exactly what it should be. If you fix it, it may be good right now, but you may be changing something that He had plans for. Yeah, that's the decision you have. So I would look at it that way. You know what I mean? I would suggest you don't, but that's what you have to decide. So, what you think, Ryan?
No, I agree. When we talk about giving advice, I always want to go with, you've made decisions, you've made mistakes. And I know this hits home with people who have had abortions, and then you hear about them having complications when they're ready to get pregnant.
Oh, man.
And my heart goes out to them, because immediately I believe they beat themselves up and think, oh man, this is something that I did.
God will never forgive me.
God will never forgive me. But what I also have to say about abortions is that, there's so many people out there that have been trying to have kids. I know a couple that tried for 20-something years to have kids, and it just never happened. And so, abortion is not the only thing that's out there. I mean, adoption is definitely available, and if you feel like, I don't know, that you don't want to release the child, then maybe that's God speaking to you. And if you're not a Christian, maybe this is the time for you to listen to whatever feels right, whatever inkling you have about this. So yeah, that's my advice.
All right, man. I mean, this is a tough one, but hopefully something resonated with you.